Welcome to Voices from the Bench, a dental laboratory podcast. Send us an email at info@voicesfromthebench.com or look for us on Facebook at Voices from the Bench. Greetings and welcome to episode 133 of Voices from the Bench. My name is Elvis.
And my name is Barbara, and you sound the same way every single time you do that.
I get excited to record a new episode. I'm always happy to get these things out. You know, we've been doing it every week for 133 weeks. It's hard to change.
Well, you sound good, partner.
Well, I appreciate that. I just finished recording our Zoom call for the Denturists Association conference next week.
Yeah? How'd it go?
It was good. You're no novice to this. You've done it a few times. You know how it is.
Yep.
We covered some really good stuff, and I encourage anyone to go check it out, especially technicians. If you want to take the next step in a career, look at denturism, and their conference is a good way to check it out.
Awesome.
But I saw online that you're also an educator at the LMT virtual event in November. How come you never tell me these things?
I don't know. Judy Fishman and I had a really great interview. I'm not really an educator, but before the actual CE course, they're doing small interviews. And I was one of the folks that she chose, and we sat down and talked about our one-piece flow and how we've changed Night Dental and the way that we manufacture, and it was really cool. I just love Judy to death. She's amazing. So, yeah.
All right. There you have it. I'm going to ask you again. Did you mention the podcast?
No. But I have to take a moment of silence because, you know, this is super sad. So Eddie Van Halen died. I got to mention it on the podcast because I'm a big rocker girl. I loved him. Super sad about that. I know this doesn't really fall into dental technology, but I had to give a nod to him. So
I get it. I understand, Barb. Yeah. I feel your loss. I would say I'm right there with you, but if it wasn't for the name of the band being called Van Halen, I wouldn't know who Eddie Van Halen was.
Come on. You didn't listen to Van Halen ever?
I really
didn't. Where the hell were you? In a corner somewhere under a rock?
Yeah. I know of the band. I could probably tell you one or two songs, maybe. Did they do Jump?
Yes.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, well, I know Sean Nowak's going, yeah, I know, it's such a bummer. There's people out there listening to this podcast that get it.
I know.
Okay, if you don't, but thank you for letting me mention it.
Big influence in the music world, and I understand, and I'm happy to let you mention it, and I'm sure he had dental work at some point, so it's kind of relevant.
He did, dude.
I'm sure it's relevant.
Big time. Oh, it is. Yes, he did. Definitely. So,
yeah.
All right. So onward and upward we go.
Absolutely. Even though I just got done recording a virtual with video for the Denturists Association, a lot of people might not know this, but Barb and I, we can't see each other when we do these.
Thank God.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I don't need to see Barb any more than I see Barb. But we do it only audio. I find that it's better to do it only audio so you can focus on the audio. I don't need to see what people are giving me weird faces.
Like me right now? Just kidding.
Yeah. But there might be a way for us to record the podcast while we're still sitting in the same room, but be miles apart from each other. How do we do that, you might ask?
I don't know, but we're going to find out.
We find out on today's episode as we bring two individuals in from the future.
Dun, dun, dun.
They are obviously not from the future, but their idea and their plan is Vincent Silva from DHC, which is Dental Healthcare Computers, and also the company VHS, which is the Virtual Healthcare Systems. He comes on the podcast along with mega technician Jed Archibald to talk about taking dentistry to the next level, the next virtual reality level.
Awesome.
You might have seen some of the amazing videos online, but now they come on to talk about how we can now train, educate, troubleshoot, and repair in the lab all through the use of VR goggles.
Nice.
Yeah, this is some pretty amazing stuff that's going to change the way we do a lot of the things in the lab. So join us as we chat with Vincent Silva and Jed Archibald. Dental Services Group is proud to support the National Board of Certification in Dental Technology and proudly promote certification for dental technicians throughout their national network of laboratories.
The CDT designation sets certified dental technicians apart from others in the field, demonstrating a mastery of knowledge and applied skills in the art of dentistry.
Certification also raises the standards of dental health through education in all aspects of dental technology. At Dental Services Group, they believe dentistry plays a significant role in the healthcare ecosystem and is committed to providing solutions to benefit the overall health and well-being of the patient. Visit NBCCERT to learn more about becoming a CDT.
And dentalservices.net to learn more about how DSG supports the dental community. And they support our podcast. So thank you, DSG.
Voices from the Bench. The interview. We'd like to welcome to the podcast today two gentlemen that are kind of all over social media right now doing something kind of cool. If you've noticed, it's a virtual reality in dentistry. But let's introduce you guys. We have Jed Archibald from Utah. How are you, sir? Hello?
Hello? Where'd Jed go?
That was like one of my best introductions I've ever done.
There he is.
Jed,
Yay.
You heard my amazing introduction?
It was so good. It was so good.
It was like the best one I've ever done.
It was so good. Like, it was very intimidating. Like, I was like, oh my God. I'm really nervous now.
That's Elvis for you.
So let's take over from the end of that. From Utah, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great. I'm really happy to be here.
Awesome. And then we're also joined by Vincent Silva from California. How are you, sir?
Good, doing great.
Nice. Appreciate you guys joining us on a rare evening recording of Voices from the Bench.
One of us might be drinking wine. Just saying. I think it's me.
The problem is if you're not sure, that means you got a problem.
I'm pretty sure. But it's only one glass,
That's okay.
so I'm good. So how are you guys?
Doing great. Excited to be here.
Nice. I've noticed online there's been a lot of big names in dentistry talking about this kind of virtual reality you guys are creating where we can take training virtually. I mean, I guess that's the best way to put it. Am I explaining it right?
Yeah, I think that's a fair way to say it. You know, the term virtual, it's still a very new and kind of misused term, just kind of generally right now.
Mm-hmm.
All of us have been thrown into some type of virtual world just due to COVID. And when you talk virtual, we really have to start talking about the different types of virtual that's out there and the experiences you can have. The one that is probably the most popular, that everyone loves and plays with the most, and we just don't really realize it, is augmented reality. That's become kind of a forefront of our lives just through our smartphones and our apps, whether it's Snapchat or any type of other facial recognition that's out there. Augmented reality is wonderful and it's neat. But when we start talking about using it as an educational tool, it's less practical just because the hardware you need to actually use AR is very expensive.
Sure.
Yeah. So you start thinking about it. Yeah. The cheapest thing that we have access to is a smartphone, which is $1,000. But then you get into the HoloLenses and other things like that, which look very futuristic. And those are, upwards of close to $4,000. So when you start thinking of those in scale of...
Somebody's got a kid.
I got a kid. She's great. She's here. Yeah, she was... You are a pie. Thanks. Hey, where's Mom?
Aww.
For the record, that's our next CEO.
She sounds adorable.
Get them early.
Yep. This is what happens when you do live podcasts.
I know. One sec. I'll be right back.
Makes
I'm
it
sorry,
more
guys.
fun.
No, you're fine.
Okay.
She's our best coder. Oh my gosh. I love your ambiance here. You guys are having a good time and make us feel very at ease. It's nice.
That's what we try to do.
I've got a question for you, Vincent, while he's away. So how did you get into our industry? Have you been in it for A while?
Yes, as long as I can remember. I'm third generation technician. My father is a
Beautiful.
removables technician out of LA, California. I started off early, kind of sweeping the floors in the laboratory during summers, then pouring models. Then that kind of evolved into, graduating high school and figuring out what I was going to do. So I took some classes, obviously, at the local college and realized that my true passion and calling was dental technology. So I attended LA City under Dana Cohen.
Oh
Oh,
yeah, I
I
know
do know
him.
him. Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm a local hero. Graduated there, went to the School of Hard Knocks, which is, real life,
Yep.
and then ended up taking Dr. Ed McLaren's program at UCLA,
Oh,
the
sure.
MBC program. I was very fortunate enough to, rub shoulders with some of the top guys in the industry, learn Ed's ways and aesthetic protocol. And then I was approached by one of my mentors, Mogens Gad from Oslo, Norway. And
Nice.
he had put an offer on the table asking if I wanted to travel the world and learn from the best. I said I'd love to, but obviously just graduating Ed's program, as you know, was not cheap.
Yeah.
So he blessed me and basically said he would take care of it and I didn't have to worry about it.
Wow.
So, next thing you know, I'm on a plane to Oslo, Norway, across the world. And I was able to work with guys like Mick Kedge, Mogens Gad, Klaus, all those guys, all the greats. Then when I got back to the States, I was recruited by CapTech. They're Zara brothers, Nick and Louis Zara.
Yeah, we know them
Yes,
too.
yes. Great guys, great guys. I started working for them for the Gold Company. And then I worked for Henry Schein, Arjun. And I kind of felt like, there was something I was missing in as far as CAD CAM, because I felt the real horsepower behind any sort of digital platform was the PC. And for some reason, Alienware wasn't cutting it. Nobody else was producing a PC that would accommodate some of these softwares. So I started a company called DHC, Digital Healthcare Computers, optimizing PCs for CAD CAM at the highest level. And as we were being progressive and forward thinking, we actually started working with Jed Archibald, and we started working with some of the top VR guys in the industry to bring digital dentistry and that platform to interact. And that's kind of how Jed and I met. We actually met through Dr. Ed McLaren, a mutual friend of ours in Utah. And, Jed and I pretty much hit it off from the very beginning. If you've been in the industry, then you're definitely aware of who the Archibalds are and their legacy and the level that they do things. And so Jed and I were talking one day and, he loved what I was doing as far as VR. And this was at the infancy stage. And he was like a duck to water. He acclimated very fast. He knew more about it when I had started it. And basically, we had a conversation, a heart to heart. I went down there and made him basically promise that he would roll this out in a manner that would be correct. And he's done nothing short of that. I mean, he has really put it through the paces, the software, me, myself, and taken it to the next level and really done some great, great things with it. Things that I would have never imagined. So we started creating a VHS team, and it's just been a wild ride since. I'm glossing over a lot of this. Jed, are you back yet?
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay.
I'm back.
What part did I miss? Because I know I missed something there.
You didn't talk much about, how I looked, how I'm very attractive and smell nice, things like that.
Very adorable daughter.
Yes. Yeah, no, I think, you covered a lot of things. And I think that's what's important to me that I'm glad you did mention was just the fact that I'm fortunate that through just kind of my past and history, growing up, kind of apprenticing with my father over the years, running the lab school, also doing a lot of different projects with Gordon and getting to see all the wonderful R&D that he gets to do, as well as product development that he does.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, he helps a lot of companies behind the scenes. They'll come to him and kind of pitch products to him, and he'll give them a lot of advice, kind of his thoughts and 2 cents, and you never hear about, right? But there are things that kind of help shape the direction of the way things go. So just being in that type of environment, I feel extremely fortunate. So, when Vince came to me with this thing and he was showing me the VR, I'm like, yeah, this is great. Okay, this has potential. But I wasn't getting too excited. But what got me excited and got me invested was when he said, I just really want this to have a positive impact on dentistry. And I want us to do this the right way. That's what really kind of sparked my interest and got me going. I said, okay, the right way. And he's all, yeah, the right way. I'm like, okay, hang on, here we go. And, I'm really grateful that Vince he's put a lot of trust in me. I know he's had some questionable calls where he's probably been nervous about some of my decisions and stuff, but he's been very, very gracious and very trustworthy. So it's been a really good relationship and really fun that way. So we've had a really fun time. Yeah. What we wanted to do was, rather than just throw it out to our industry in its infancy form, I knew that if we did that, it would be very similar to CAD CAM, where CAD CAM 20 years ago, maybe a little more than 20 years ago now, when it was brought into our industry, it was very, very infant. It was at the time 6-year-old technology for that time. Because of that, you had a lot of people who were excited about it, but then a lot of people who saw that it was gimmicky, a lot of people who saw that it wasn't there yet. And it kind of floundered and it got pushed off to kind of the lower end of our industry, unfortunately. And it's kind of floundered and had kind of a rough start. And now it's taken off to a point where, everyone's pretty much adopting CAD CAM to some degree, if not a full degree, right?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
So we didn't want VR to come off that way. We didn't want to introduce it in its infancy form and have it be kind of pigeonholed as gimmicky. We wanted to come in at a very high level and start making a positive change as fast as possible. So really, I took Vince by the arm and we've been kind of traveling around like crazy for the past 2 years. This isn't just because of COVID. This was 2 years ago. And visiting companies, visiting educators, kind of the top people, the people who are really major influencers out there, people I trust, and showing them virtual reality, talking about the options, talking about the possibilities, what would be the shortcomings of it. So, and that's kind of led us to kind of get it to a much more polished state where it is ready, while at the same time allowed companies and educators to, through us, develop kind of their own personal experience. You haven't seen it yet, but very shortly you will be seeing some really neat tools, either tools or educational experiences provided from some pretty serious players out there. So that's going to be very exciting. As you know, we just barely started to kind of announce publicly what we've been doing with virtual reality now, but it's been a long road getting there. But it's at a phase where we feel like it's gonna be fun. Not everyone's gonna love it, but it's definitely gonna be neat and it's gonna be a positive for our industry. So kind of what we set out to be. So we're pretty proud of it. I'm really proud of the work Vince has done. So
yeah.
If you're a laboratory like myself, so how would I engage in the system? What do I need to do to find out about it, to look at it, to play with it, or are you just beta testing right now?
Well, right now, I mean, the bottom line is to actually develop any virtual reality experience, it costs money.
Yeah.
The bottom line, it just costs money to do. So we're trying to be very strategic on how we do that. So as far as your experience as a laboratory person, for instance, say we've been working with one of your dental supply companies who offers a mill, okay? And you have that mill. And now you need to do a service call on it. A part breaks or a part needs to be replaced, or you need to figure out what's wrong with the mill. In the past, if you've had the DWX50, you would have to ship it around the country. And heaven forbid, if it was bought through Henry Schein, that might be in the mail for like a week, right?
Yeah.
We've all had those stories. No, that's not a stab at Henry Schein. That's just, I mean, we've all been there, right? And that's a horrible experience, not just for the customer, but also for the company too. So rather than going through that, now your mill, you would actually have a technical representative contact you. Hey, let's hop in. I would like to walk through this in a virtual reality setting. And so the technical representative would actually have virtual reality goggles. So they would be an avatar with hands and functions and things. And if you had a headset, you could also be an avatar with hands and functions. Or with our system, the great thing is you can actually just watch via, a 3D experience just on your phone or on your desktop. So you don't have to have a virtual reality headset. You will experience it similar to like a video game. So you can use your keys or cursors or whatever to move around and look around and experience something like a video game. But the technician with the actual VR headset will be able to go in, manipulate the equipment. So in the virtual setting, they could pull off a panel, say, okay, you see this screw? I need you to go undo this screw or go change this part, go check this connection. and come back and report, and can essentially troubleshoot or walk through just about any scenario that way in real time. So rather than watching like a YouTube tutorial, or rather than reading a manual, you would have a one-on-one session with a technician walking through it as if he is there.
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Which is really cool. It kind of helps bridge that gap that we need, gives you that customer service we would like to have in the lab. But for the company, you can imagine the amount of money that will save them on a large scale, not shipping technicians around the country, not shipping equipment across the country. The amount of burn rate that is reduced is astronomical just in that one instance. And then it opens up also that same experience would transform to your exhibitions. We have Chicago, fingers crossed. We have Chicago next year, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So the same company that has developed that virtual reality experience can now show up to Chicago with their booth. They can maybe scale down their booth a little bit. And rather than sending a bunch of mills on pallets to Chicago, they can just send a VR headset and have an extra TV screen there.
Interesting.
There's some really neat advantages to that, which are really fun.
Make sure you virtually unplug it before you start working on it, though. That's the first thing everyone needs to
do. That's right.
So, Vincent, this VR, this is nothing new. I remember seeing a movie called Lawnmower Man back in the 80s about virtual reality. At what point did you decide this was a good concept to bring into dentistry?
Well, like I said, when I first started DHC, optimizing PCs, we wanted to be forward thinking and ahead of the curve.
Mm-hmm.
As you know, though, if you're too far ahead of the curve, you're lost.
True.
It doesn't work. So I was working on some conceptual, things as far as virtual reality, augmented reality. We jumped into the HoloLens in the very beginning with AR and all this good stuff. Realized that VR was a great introductory platform to kind of tee this up at a good price point. But what the real rubber meets the road is when we are able to communicate at a high level using all the digital information and content that we have at our resources, intraoral scans, facial recognition from zircons on. How can we use all this information to treatment plan without having to hop from software platform to software platform? And so we were able to use VR as that medium to import all this content for one platform to, look at all this information for a good treatment plan. When we first started it, it was a wild ride. We weren't sure, but what we did know is that we needed an optimized PC to support most of these functions. As we know, a lot of these softwares are always having updates, ever evolving, but the computers don't. So we wanted to make sure that we had a good support foundation to import huge STL files, facial recognition, moving objects, and these other things. And that's kind of about the time I met Jed. I was looking for somebody who really could understand how to manipulate digital files, who had a good understanding of CAD/CAM, and who was doing digital dentistry at its very highest level. So Jed, when I seen him, it was almost like, the light was shining down on me. I just knew this was the guy. And his sentiments were the exact same as mine. And literally, he was finishing my thoughts, knew kind of what I was thinking and where I wanted to go. And we were on a ride. And it was just an amazing, even today we talk about, did we think we were going to be this far so fast? And when COVID hit, it was kind of preparation meets timing.
Yeah.
And, we were in a great place, but we've been sitting on this for about a year and a half, almost 2 years to make sure that we were getting our content right. And like Jed said, when I asked him and I made him promise me, this is a path that wasn't taken. We didn't have anybody to look at or compare ourselves to or say, hey, you know what, they're doing it wrong, we're going to do it better. None of this existed. And I used the analogy as, kind of walking down a field of weeds and we look back and it's only our path that we see. So we wanted to double check everything and make sure that our verbiage and information we put out was correct. And, like Jed had mentioned in the beginning, a lot of other VR platforms are out there. We've seen them at IDS, International, YouTube, but they're a one-person experience, or they run you through kind of a training, or they just don't have what we call a multi-user platform. And the guys in software that we partnered with, they are one of the top, if not the top VR software platforms out there. And so we want to make sure that we are able to offer a great experience to everybody. All we are trying to really do at the very core of this is move the needle of digital dentistry forward without hindering or hurting the industry that we love so much, that has fed both our families.
Sure.
A neat thing about the people who are really the main developers of the core platform that we are kind of launching off from is what makes it special. If you go look at a lot of the virtual reality experiences out there, a lot of them, as Vince said, are single player, but it's you going through an experience. And essentially what it is a video game.
Sure.
And that doesn't mean it's bad. You know, you can still learn how to do like knee replacements, heart surgeries, really neat things out there. And you're in a room with essentially a robot or an avatar or CPU, but it's not another real person in the room. It's not an instructor watching you and going through the steps with you and having that one-on-one hands-on experience. And so that's what really stood out about this platform and why we chose these guys to partner with them and use that as kind of the base of what we're doing, because we want to be able to get all the tools in the room and not script out this experience, not script out this play that you're going to go through. Instead, we want to just be able to get all the tools and all the equipment in the room and let an instructor or teacher get in there with people and just let them do their thing, just like they do in a real life hands-on course. You know, so things can go out of order. You know, people can make mistakes or bring up random thoughts and conversations that you would have in a real course, good or bad.
Yeah.
We wanted to have that experience, and that's a very tough ask, along with having a platform that can actually work on PCs. It can work on Macs, work on iPhone, work on Android, literally work on every brand of VR headset out there. Those are very big key points that make it something that everyone has access to, not just certain people. You know, we wanted to be able to reach everyone.
There's a story that Jed always tells, and it's about me. Basically, I was coming from UCLA. I had a meeting out there, and I was just about to jump on the 405. I was getting on the freeway, and he calls me and says, "Hey, Vince, you know, are you ready?" I said, "Oh, no." And so I guess I had forgot about a meeting. So I ended up getting off the freeway, hitting the hotspot on my cell phone, and putting on one of the Oculus Go's and took the meeting from the side of the freeway off Sepulveda.
Wow. In your car?
In the car.
That would have been an odd drive-by.
Nobody was the wiser, but it just highlights the versatility of the software and where we are right now with technology. It's a crazy time. But like Jed was mentioning, this platform, because we are able to use it on so many different multiple devices, it leaves nobody out in the cold. Anybody can use it. Not to mention, we have a saying, you know, charge less, make more. And usually after 2 days, once people kind of start immersing, you know, they lose their mind. I use a little different language, but they lose their mind after 2 days because they start realizing this platform, not only for digital dentistry, but for treatment planning, for schools, for education, for mechanics. I mean, anything we can digitize, we can import to this platform and use at the highest level. And, you know, back in the day, I feel like when we would talk about a treatment plan, it was, what was it, a Polaroid and a shade tab from the lab?
Yeah.
For sure.
Right. And look where we are at now. Now we can virtually bring in the patient, facial recognition, intraoral scans, all the other materials and mills and other things that we have been able to digitize or import, and then put all this into one platform to utilize this information, a treatment plan at the highest level. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. And for guys like Jed, when they educate on certain products or techniques, we are basically not one, educating, but two, now we're also migrating these guys and introducing them to a new technology that is going to be the future. I mean, this isn't going anywhere. It's just going to get better.
I'm super psyched for you guys. In my head, I can see it and I can visualize it, and it just sounds amazing.
So let me see if I understand this. So instead of us just all talking into computers, with these devices, all four of us can have virtual reality headsets on, be sitting down and seeing each other, and still be having this conversation.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome.
You would see each other's mannerisms, you know, as your head moves and bobs. If you got someone who's had too much caffeine and they're twitching all over the place, right? You'll see that.
That would be me.
Wow. That's
You'll
cool.
see that. But if you're someone who has vertigo problems or someone who is not comfortable in a VR headset, you know, you get dizzy, that's where you can access via desktop, and you're still an avatar. You still move around. you maybe are just lacking some of those really unique functions that you would have with the controllers and things like that. But you can still function, you can still participate. So it's not like you're completely left out.
Sure.
And with the software, Elvis, we wanted to make sure that it was now. It wasn't passe. It wasn't, backdated. So, for example, with our avatars, if you like something, because it's very hard to gauge an audience virtually.
Yeah.
So now we're able to use emojis, literally emojis, thumbs up, smiley faces, celebrate. If we like what's going on, if I don't like what's being said, I'll put thumbs down. We can still do message simultaneously. I mean, it's the way we communicate now. It is today's software.
I can shoot Barb an angry face, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's right.
You can do that. And when you're in just kind of free discussion mode, you can have private sidebars just like you do in real life. So in the rooms that we have where you create, as you walk away from someone else, your voice actually gets quieter, just like it does in real life. Let's say you wanted to have a private discussion with someone that you're meeting at an expedition or something, then you walk over a couple feet and you can have a private discussion. You don't have to worry about people eavesdropping in and things like that. So it really does help bridge the gap that I feel like a lot of us are kind of yearning for right now. And we're kind of hoping that we can have, is it as good as being in person? No, I mean, nothing's probably ever going to be as good as being in person, although I'm kind of a recluse, so I kind of prefer the non-in-person stuff. But,
it depends on the people. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it depends on the people, but it bridges that gap to a point to where, you not only function, but you can enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah.
And especially now, with COVID and the pandemic and all of that going on, where people aren't traveling, but they need help. This is actually a perfect time to launch something like this.
Oh, absolutely. As far as COVID-19, this particular software is actually in 3 different COVID think tanks right now as we speak. It's also being used by the DoD, Department of Defense, and some other high-level industries. So we are very proud of it. We're very happy to be a part of the movement and the trend to literally help people evolve and start understanding digital dentistry. It's tough. It's tough because there's so many different platforms out there, but I believe that we'll rise to the top and people will see that what we're doing is only to help the industry. I think you guys will be pleasantly surprised by all the big companies out there coming this year that will be basically putting it out there and using it in a manner that is an everyday procedure.
I totally see it. We have nesting problems, milling problems, software problems. You try to get people on the phone, but I mean, to have that and put that on and actually walk yourself through it with the person that's helping you, I can completely visualizing it changing the way that we do things.
Well, imagine this, Barbara. Imagine you're having an issue with your mill or something. Jed jumps on the call to help you, and it's an eternal issue. Maybe it's a spindle, maybe it's a burr. Well, instead of him showing you a manual, 2D, a phone call, or waiting a week for him to get out there for something so minor, he can actually walk into the mill with you and look at that particular spindle, burr, part, whatnot, at real time from different places.
Yeah.
It's amazing what we are able to do right now with this technology. I mean, Jed and I sometimes I wonder, is this work? I mean, this shouldn't be so fun.
I love that.
Yeah,
that's so perfect.
That's one of my favorite things. I call it the magic school bus experience, where you can take an object like a mill or take something that, a STL, a model, anything like that, and you can blow it up the size of a bus and walk inside it. That's really fun to do because in dentistry, we're working under a microscope on just about everything we do, right?
Oh, sure.
So to be able to blow things up larger than life and look at it on that type of scale is a really fun way of learning. It's really a neat way to engage people.
And you know what? The biggest thing I feel as far as technicians and labs and even clinicians, we're all visual people at the most part. We're all visual people. Yeah. If you show me and I see it, I got it. If you tell me, maybe I'm going to hear it twice. So when we are able to treatment plan or talk about a case and intraoral scan, when I say, hey, then incisal 1/3, I can show you exactly. It's not that wide range because as we know, 0.5 in the mouth is like a mile off. So we're talking exact, not generalities here, and that's dentistry.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Will you be dealing with both parties, meaning labs, techs, and dentists?
Yes.
Cool.
To back up a little bit, with DHC, Digital Healthcare Computers, and then VHS, Virtual Healthcare Systems, when I first launched DHC, people were like, man, those computers are a little expensive. But with Alienware, we started creating computers specifically optimized for dental applications. So we were able to add twice as much hardware, optimize, and overcalculate to give our clients just what we call a fire breather. But this is what we are using to support the VHS platform in VR. So we created what we call an ecosystem. We will evaluate your network to make sure you can accept the optimization, right? Because even if you have a fire breather, if your network won't support it, it's going to be just like an old Dell. Once that's done, then we hook you up with the VR software. And after that, guns are blazing. You can do anything. Sky's the limit. And we've literally hashtag limitless when it comes to dentistry.
Wow.
Yeah, as far as how, the end user will actually see it, whether you're a clinician or a technician, like we said, we wanted this to be done the right way. And we've essentially given companies and educators the power to kind of make it their own, to kind of rebrand it and make it their own. And we're there to support them. So rather than us being the face of it and trying to sell it to them as an end product, we've given them a chance to come in the back door and customize it for their own experience. And that way they will be able to release it to the end user, regardless of whether you're a technician or dentist, mind you. And they'll release it to you in a very reasonable manner. So it's not going to be like something that you have to go buy, like an ExoCAD or a 3Shape or another license. It's something that'll be, most likely lumped into your existing service fee, regardless of your provider that's out there. It's going to be very affordable, almost not noticeable. So that way it's something you'll be able to experience and access without being forced to buy something, whether it's hardware or software.
Sure. And another thing, what we wanted to make sure was it was accessible to everybody. We didn't want to be, we only want the upper crust to, use this software. It's only for the best people, elite in the world. No, we wanted to make sure that this was affordable for everybody. We want everybody to be on this platform. And as you know, when we first started going down that road of CAD/CAM, we had closed systems. Other platforms weren't compatible with this platform, which meant, we can't do certain things. And so we wanted to make sure with all these companies that everybody was on the same playing field, where now we can communicate easier. As you guys all know, just different software, sometimes they're not compatible, which means what? We can't communicate or we can't do something. That's a shame. And just like, all the CAD/CAM companies, then they opened up all the softwares. Now we're able to do things freely. Wondered why they waited so long. So we didn't want to go down that road. This wasn't about monetary. This was about really changing an industry, putting a stamp on it, or at least being part of the movement or being a spark of the fire that goes down this path to really do at the highest level using all the tools that we have. We didn't do anything special. We just put everything together in a manner that is conducive to what we are trying to do. That was it. And so the price point is very, very affordable. It's not going to break the bank. I think people are going to be overwhelmed with how cheap it is and what you're getting for the price.
And from my viewpoint, when you guys say experience, it's a super freaking awesome experience. It's actually an experience. So being a dental technician myself, growing up in the industry, this is just super cool to me. And I can see all kinds of my technicians and the people that work in the CAD department and on the machines. They're all super young. When I say super young, mid-20s, and I could see that freaking totally taking off.
It's really neat. It fills a gap that we need, that hands-on, kind of that close one-on-one experience, even if you're doing if you go do a high-end hands-on course, regardless of who you take it from, it's usually, under 20 people, right?
Yeah.
And most of them are about 10. And it's a way to actually do those virtually on a much larger scale, just so you can reach more people. That's the problem. It's not that these educators only want to teach 10 people that are out there. They'd love to reach more people. It's just that's kind of hard.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to do that many. So it's going to open up the door for a lot of our educators who are really good educators to be able to just reach more people and make a bigger impact, because it allows you to do that hands-on experience rather than just that big, lecturing to 500 people at a time type of deal.
And, like Jed mentioned, what we call the shotgun effect, you just kind of blast it out to the masses and hope it sticks. These intimate, smaller courses, I believe this is where it really resonates and messages come across accordingly. And because of the virtual experience, being immersed, because you're in a headset, we have, 85% retention rate as far as retaining this content. Because as we know, I'm sure there's a ton of products out there that companies launch and maybe failed because bad intel information or the technique path was not kind of explained in a manner where they really grasp it. And so it was failed, even though they were great products. And so we wanted to make sure that we could do as much as we can to make sure that people really resonated and understood what we were doing. And I believe visuals do that.
They absolutely do that.
So to go back to the example of fixing a mill, how do you guys render a virtual mill, but not just the outside of it? You know, I mean, you really have to be able to open up a panel and move this and get into that. Do you have to build that piece by piece virtually? How does that system work?
Yeah, sometimes yes. Yeah, there's a lot of coding that goes into that, and it's kind of a whole new world for me. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a dental technician, and I feel like I got that down to a fairly good degree. And you know, to jump into a field that is completely new and you feel like a duck out of water it's exciting and scary at the same time. But yeah, you know, fortunately, a lot of our manufacturers of all equipment now are using CAD CAM to do just about every design and process, even validating.
Sure. So it's already done. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of the files are created where everything is done. Some, you know, even at least to a very blank state where it's just a shell, you know, like an STL, it's just a shell. There's no colors, there's no textures and animations and stuff like that. But at least you have that as a template.
Yeah.
And so if you have that as a template, then our team of coders, they'll go through and they'll assign, you know, they assign color, texture. You have to assign lighting is very important just so you get the right shadows and contrast that you need in there. And then once you get all that done and you get it looking how it's supposed to, then there's the job of animations. And that's a whole other process. So you would need a panel to open, but you also need it to go back to where it's supposed to go, right? You need to assign properties to it like gravity, so it actually will drop on the ground and you have to pick it back up. Or when you go to put it on the mill, it actually stops when it gets to the mill and it doesn't just go through it like the mill's a ghost. There's a whole series of animation and creation, which is really fun to see, but it is a big, big project. And that's why I said that creating the experiences is not the cheapest thing, but to the end user, we've structured it in such a way by working with the companies and educators. We've structured in such a way that to the end user, you really shouldn't feel the cost of it.
Yeah.
They're going to save hundreds of thousands of dollars just in reducing their burn rate by going down this road.
Sure.
You know, guys, keep in mind too, with this platform, initially we were working with Loma Linda University out here, and they wanted to be our initial partner with CODA to start digitizing basically digital education or dental education, shall I say. You know, even as such things as the CDT, the NADL, all this stuff is relevant. You know, anything that we have as far as content, if we can digitize it, we can import it. We can create training modules. I mean, sky's the limit. And the hardest part is anytime we do, like this today, we had a big meeting, VR meeting with a big company. And, you know, they said, well, where should we start? I mean, you know, literally, there's so many things we can do on multiple different platforms with this. It's really hard to manage people's expectations. So like Jed says, you know, let's just start somewhere.
Yeah.
Pick your immediate pain point and let's go there. And as soon as we start the process, I mean, things just start coming up. Well, can we do this? Can we do this? Yes, we can do all that. And now we start creating what we call a runway to manage their expectations, to make sure we can get it done in a time period that makes sense. But it's amazing. We've been really, really blessed to work with really good people, some great companies. And me taking this journey with Jed, I mean, it's been a wild ride and very, very fun.
I bet. I can't imagine.
Hey, Elvis, is this where we announced VHS is the new Voices from the Bench platform virtually?
Oh, I don't know.
All right.
It all depends.
That's not a bad idea, Elvis. Come on.
Let's do it.
How great can I make my avatar look? I mean, can I? That's what I'm all about, you know?
It depends on if you have the mustache or not. Ask your wife.
We could do the mustache.
She'll tell you.
Whatever you want. You know, the funny thing is some people think it's kind of weird, but our avatars, you'll see when we get you in there, but they don't have legs.
Whoa.
So you have everything else.
That's the best part.
Well, you would think that, but actually when you start using virtual reality over a lengthy period of time, you forget that you're actually in a virtual world. And so sometimes if there's things like couches, chairs, or if people have legs and stuff, you'll trick yourself and you'll actually go to sit down in real life. It's weird. Your mind kind of goes through a little bit of a trip for a while.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's kind of an advanced thing where, yeah, we actually had to take the legs off the people for a while just because it actually was a little safer.
That's crazy.
Wow. So how soon is this available? Is it still in the works, or are you guys planning on a launch sometime soon?
It's out. We went public with it last week, Jed. Was that right?
Yeah,
Oh, wow. So it's a week old, huh?
it's out right now. But like I said, we are kind of kicking up the dust and letting people know what's going on, just so all of our partners, companies, and educators, that you guys won't be completely blindsided when they show it to you.
Yep.
We're kind of letting them offer it to you in the manner that they want. And that's really going to be the best way to have it be free in some cases or very cost effective in most cases. So it's not like, hey, here's VHS, come to our website and pay for it type of deal. It's just like, this is what it's about. This is what's going on. Let's talk about it. Let's get the conversation going. Get ready. It's coming. So you're going to get it either way.
I really like that approach.
And we don't have any pricing. Like Jed said, we really want to make sure our message gets across. Our social media has been just going nuts with some of the videos that Jed and some of our other advocates have put out. I mean, just thousands and thousands of views. I really didn't expect it to go that fast, but in a time where this is where we're at, I mean, it's a good time.
Wow.
Are you guys allowed to talk about which partners you're working with, or are we staying away from that topic?
We actually asked, and we're staying away from that topic because that was kind of like, let us think about that and get back to you type of a response. So I was like, okay.
That's fair.
That's
Fair
what it's
enough.
like working with corporate. We get it.
Yeah, but that's okay. I mean, pretty much it's going to be everyone, and it's not, we wanted to make sure that it wasn't going to be just one company either, because the last thing we wanted to do was hand one company a whole bunch of power to where they can possibly take over and have a monopoly of some kind, heaven forbid. If this technology is bigger than we can imagine, you got to be smart that way.
So Elvis, I was wondering, since we lost Jed for 5 minutes when he went to take care of his daughter, can we roll back a little bit and find out about, how he got into the industry? Because I know he and his father, second generation, that whole deal.
Absolutely.
Is that something we can do?
That's the
Yeah,
beauty of it. We can do whatever we want. So,
Sure. Do we make the Wayne's World rewind noise? Do we do that?
Yeah. So I was curious, Jed, I've seen you speak many times with Iva Clar, yourself and your father, and I'm second generation as well. So I was curious, so what was it like growing up with your dad, and how did you get interested in becoming a dental technician?
I jokingly say that really my father was mean and he didn't steer me away from the industry. That I always say that.
Here.
He sucked me in. But, I was super fortunate. I make no qualms about that. I can't believe the circumstances I was able to just be raised and be brought up in. It's really kind of surreal. So I feel a lot of pressure to kind of do right by that.
Yeah.
Basically, the way it happened, I mean, a long, long time ago, we go back almost 50 years now. My father met up with Gordon Christensen early in his career, and they hit it off. And my father was Gordon's private technician and still is to this day.
That's nuts.
Gordon and his son Will, who now runs the main practice. Gordon pretty much does a lot of research and education over there and kind of co-manages CR Reports, which used to be CRA. CRA, Clinicians Reports, that kind of car and driver for dentists.
Oh, yeah. I know all about it. Yep.
During their time together, they also started a lab school, private lab school, and apprenticeship lab school, which was small volume, but it was hands-on training, 9 to 5 while we were there working on Gordon's cases. And, there's about 6 students at a time for a year. It was just a really great experience. I kind of grew up in that world and just grew up around these guys, grew up heading down to the lab after school and, taking my dog down there and bugging everyone and hanging out. And I would even bring my video games down there and distract the students. We'd play games and who knows what.
Oh, yeah.
But then when I was about 16, I got into it very heavily. And my father, really, when I was about 15, my father he started grooming me and really kind of tutoring me kind of privately, kind of putting me through the paces as far as lab work, education. I got more involved with Dr. Christensen, going up and seeing patients, seeing more of his education, a little more how the workings of everything works. And then, I was teaching in the school. I was one of the teachers for the school and just slowly kind of migrated up through that. And I saw, once I realized the wonderful opportunity was, because you grow up in that experience and it's just kind of like Gordon's a grandpa and my dad's my dad, right?
Yep.
I don't know him as kind of these well known.
Icon.
I just know them as those guys, right? Gordon's my dentist. He was doing my fillings. In that experience, once I realized the wonderful experience that is, I was like, I got to stick around and just absorb as much as I can. And thankfully, both of them have been very gracious with their information and their knowledge and have been willing to open up their doors just to let me be part of what they do and learn. So I've been a part of a lot of projects that we've done. As I mentioned, we probably did a lot of lecturing. My father did a lot of lecturing for Gordon. I've done a lot of help with Gordon and his institute over there. We kind of did a lot of public lecturing with GC America when they first launched the initial porcelain line, helped them kind of successfully launch that here in the US. Shortly after that, we struck up a relationship with Ivoclar, kind of more of a professional relationship with them as far as helping them on a more corporate level, as far as product development, R&D, testing, things like that. And we really have friends all over dentistry and truly feel we can call up people from different companies and just talk to them as their friends. So we're very fortunate and very lucky. And I'm extremely fortunate to just kind of get to grow up in that situation. I would think anyone who grows up in that world would come out okay. Should know a good amount of information about dentistry, you would think, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, right.
I'm jealous. A little jealous.
You think you could get your dad and Gordon on this podcast?
That would be fun. Dun, dun, dun. He's going, man.
I like the sound of that. I'm with you guys. I want to hear it.
Sorry, guys, I lost you there. My speaker's cut off.
Oh, how convenient.
Yeah, no, I know. Sorry. So yeah, no, I saw the dots. You guys were talking. You guys were talking trash, but I didn't hear
I
it.
was asking if you could get Gordon and your dad on the podcast sometime. I bet you that would be some fantastic stories.
Oh, God, yes.
Oh, yeah. You'll get some fun stuff. I mean, they really do have a great history together. When you work together that long,
Yeah.
it's just insane. And they've had to pioneer so many things. If you think about it, I remember back in the days when I first was coming in, they were going around lecturing on how to do full mouth PFM, full arches. And my father at the time, he was teaching, us and our students, we do solder-free castings, right? Where you don't have to solder. They don't warp, they just fit. And back then, PFMs were still new, that people said, no, you cannot do large cases with PFMs. That was literally what was being taught by manufacturers all around.
Yeah.
And Gordon and my father were going around trying to show and teach, like, no, you can do it. You got to follow these thicknesses, follow these parameters, and you'll be all right. And it's crazy the evolution that they've gotten to see. That's one of the things that I really love about virtual reality and what we're doing with technology. I feel like technology is at a point where it can grab a hold of some of these great people who have been through these experiences, who have this education. And I really do feel like we need to somehow capture it to be able to pass it on to the next generation. So many of us have these young 20-year-olds in our labs right now that they don't know a lot of the fundamentals. They don't know a lot of the principles. And if we don't somehow record this in some sort of way for them to be taught, we're going to lose these great teachings for some of these great guys. So I'm really excited about the possibilities of virtual reality and what we can do with it.
Me too.
Yeah, but we could send those 20-year-olds to a virtual class to learn these fundamentals and never have to send them somewhere.
Yes.
Right. Here.
That's what I'm liking.
Well, I mean, not just that. I mean, there's we're going to lose, frankly, guys, I mean, we're going to lose a generation of really great people here very shortly.
Yeah.
How great would that be to go, take a course from someone, but then have them be like, Vince and I have talked about this, have them be like, you want to know what it was like to visit Willie Geller in his lab? Let's virtually go there. Go look around.
Heck yeah. I want to go.
There's going to be a time when that is off the table, but we can do it virtually.
That's pretty
So
cool.
there's a lot of those things that we'll be able to pass on to the next generation.
Awesome. Well said. Super excited.
And I want you guys to know, Jed didn't just say that for no reason. He's an Archibald. He has something coming up. So look forward to all that good stuff.
Ooh, teaser. I love it. Well, like your dad pioneered PFMs, here you are pioneering VR dentistry. That's some great stuff.
Don't you love how it comes full circle? That's amazing. Amazing.
Yeah. What's the best way for listeners to find out about you? Do we just wait for it to come to us, or is there Facebook, somewhere we can go to check this stuff out?
Absolutely. You guys can go to our social media. vhs-vr.com or dhc-pc.com. And then also Jed's personal page, my personal page on Facebook. We're also on Instagram as well. I'll be honest, Jed has put out some killer videos recently that are just blowing doors. So, anytime you guys get a chance to look at them and get caught up, stay tuned. That's all I can tell you.
Nice.
I'm on it.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
We'll definitely put the links up.
Yeah. So one of those things where it is just kind of, follow us and stay tuned. As soon as we step out in front of it and put a face on the product, that limits the possibilities for companies and partners to do their own thing with it,
Yeah.
So we're just trying to make sure that we create awareness and get the word out there just so it helps them rather than hinders them.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I can't wait till this is all over our industry and it's just the norm.
Yep.
It's going to be cool and I'm excited for it.
Me too.
I think you guys will be shocked on how many people jumped on this platform and really had that foresight. I think, like Jed said, the industry's evolving and for the best, and we're harnessing kind of the technology to help everybody grasp it and move forward. It's going to be a good time.
Nice.
Awesome.
Well, we appreciate you guys coming on the podcast to talk about it. Hopefully we'll stir up a little bit more interest.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no. Thanks for having us. No, I think our next one, our follow-up podcast needs to be in VR.
I love it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
I totally agree.
We need to host it for you guys, and we'll do it in VR.
I'll give it a shot. I'm excited.
You will love
for
it. You will dig it. I promise.
Well, thanks, gentlemen. We appreciate it.
All the best.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
It's been fun, and I can't wait to see more of it.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
All right, thank
Bye.
you.
That was awesome.
Hey, Barb. I've been talking about the new Formlabs printer we got for a few weeks now. And while we are pretty much printing all of our models on it, last week we gave custom trays a try.
Do you do a lot of custom trays?
We do a fair amount. Pretty much with any overdenture or hybrid case, we insist that it all starts with a well-designed custom tray. Because if you don't get that right, the rest is crap. Am I right?
Yeah, you're pretty much right, that's for sure. There's nothing worse than getting to the verification jig only to find out that the model was wrong.
For sure. One of the things I really like is that the material is very translucent. So when we go chairside and help with a full arch, you can try in that tray before the impression material and really see that everything is lined up and where it should be.
That's amazing. So I gotta ask you, because you've had it for a couple weeks now, was it easy to print it?
Sure was. We just put the cartridge in, labeled custom tray, import our design into the free software that comes with the printer, hit that magic wand button, it puts everything on the plate with all the supports, and off it goes. Super simple.
Magic wand button, I like that. Well, it definitely seems like you're a fan. Where can people learn more about Formlabs Form 3B printer?
Well, head over to formlabs.com/VFTB for Voices from the Bench. And they can send you something printed on a Form 3B printer for you to check out. I suggest checking out their gray model material. It's pretty nice.
Thanks for your support of the podcast, Formlabs. Thank you, guys. A super big thanks to Vincent and Jed for coming on our podcast to talk about this super amazing and exciting new way for labs to communicate and succeed. I really, really enjoyed that. I think this is definitely going to take off. So they're really onto something with this platform, allowing companies access virtually to service labs from afar. Check it out, guys. Who knows? Sometime maybe we will be recording the podcast while all of us are sitting on a virtual beach. Hey, now there's a good idea, Elvis. A virtual beach.
There you go.
I could actually be on an actual beach while you're on a virtual beach.
So you'll actually get the sensation of sand.
In my toes?
Yeah.
I could send you sand.
No, I'm good. I'll send you some snow when we get it next week.
Okay, I look forward to it.
All right, everybody. That's all we got for you.
Have a good one.
We appreciate it. Talk to you next week. Bye.
See ya. Feet were wet and they just came out from under me and I almost just took a dive.
Oh,